I'm
Yeah,
not ready to do that.
we can hear you
again.
good.
Speak for yourself.
I'll motion.
Okay.
Second.
Sometimes I just think it's me.
Second.
Seconded by Kelly.
Yep.
Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, that's okay.
Second on the agenda is the unpaid pilot payments report.
Oh, here, you can have that. It's been an electronic version.
And, Delta's through that a little bit.
I can't hear her very well.
Unpaid pilots for the county and
Better.
3 for the city, and there's actually the same, or no,
Almost the same.
almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start with the QP LLC, that's on both the city and the county unpaid. We have heard from the city that, payments are made each year, just, they're just behind, but payments are made each year, and this 2023 is the final year of the pilot. We're not recommending any action on that one. I'm gonna skip over WBS for a second. The Spencerport Investors, that one, 2023 is also the final year of payment, and they have reached out to the county and are on a payment plan now, and they've already made their first payment for their 2023, or 2023 pilot payments, and they've made their first payment of whatever their payment plan they worked out with the county treasury on. Okay, Franklin Bevier, I will actually have Rachel talk about that one.
So Franklin Bevier has a calculation that the tax and jurisdictions are to use in order to determine the payment due under the pilot agreement. The calculation, and this is an older pilot, was subject to some subjectivity. And Franklin Bevier disagreed with the city on how the city was doing the calculation. And what the city was determining was the first year of the pilot agreement. So it went to litigation. It is at the point of settlement. They have reached a settlement that will dictate an amendment to the pilot agreement to make that calculation more clear, and all the parties agree. But they're a little delayed in the settlement discussions. Remember, you've got taxing jurisdictions involved here, so it just takes a little time. And I spoke to our litigator last week. He said we're waiting on one of the taxing jurisdictions to respond, and then once the settlement agreement is reached and the pilot is amended, then payments will start to be made again. So we're just in a holding pattern on the settlement.
Okay, and then WBS.
And could I ask a quick question? I don't know if it matters.
Sure.
It probably doesn't matter. Slayton Avenue, is that supposed to be Slayton Place
Where do you
for
see-
Spencerport Investors?
we'll
It probably
check.
doesn't matter, but I'm not familiar with Slayton Avenue, and it may not make a difference.
Okay, well, look, I think, I don't know.
Rachel, I got a quick question.
Sure.
So, the pilots seem pretty clear to me, like the ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
So, like, why would they
So
take the calculations off?
many years ago, before any of us were here, there were some very unique pilot structures that were used. They were deviations. They weren't part of our normal UTEP. They weren't the easy assessment times the abatement factor of the jobs plus. They were sometimes these very complex calculations that you wondered if you needed your calculus teacher to help you get through it. And that's
So
what we have
so it's
here.
justifiable then? It wasn't a clear.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I
makes
see
sense.
some of these and I have no idea how anyone would figure it out.
Really?
Yeah.
We're not doing that anymore.
No.
Thank
So
goodness.
that's you're referencing Spencerport Investors?
No, that's for
that's the
Franklin Bevier.
But back to Spencerport Investors, you said the 2023 pilot, where's that maturity on the pilot with the Spencerport Investors?
This 2023 is the final
Yeah.
year.
This is the final year,
Yeah.
and we're still
It was
So-
also sold this year as well. There was a
Right,
issue
so
there.
what's the drag along to get the balance taken care of if the pilot expires? What leverage is left for them to just not, be able to walk away with no repercussion?
They haven't been, will not be able to do that.
They will
So
not be able
yeah,
to do
these
that.
are past due contractual payments that they will
Right.
be obligated to
So even though
make.
the pilot's done, these payments, so what, it says first payment, what was the first payment on this? Was it 50 grand, around
50,000.
something?
No,
around
it
50?
was, 70, it was significant. They
Yeah, I
just
remember,
emailed
So
me.
there's-
we talked about that before, it was a large number.
Well, we billing 253, balance 301, so we're accruing interests?
Yes,
Yeah, $70,800 was their first payment they just made.
Who was the original owner, Robin, Spencerport Investors?
Bob Morgan and, was just Bob involved? Or maybe Angelo as well?
And then it sold?
Sold to
Yeah.
someone else.
It's sold twice, this
Yeah.
is the third
Yeah.
sale.
Who bought it now?
Out of state, I believe.
There is a Slayton
Right,
Avenue in
so-
Spencerport,
Right.
so I think Slayton Place is on Slayton Avenue.
So this payment
you.
is
I
an
don't know.
annual payment, a monthly
It's,
payment,
so
a
it's an
quarterly?
this reflects an annual payment, and this is a situation where the town does the calculation, the whole amount is sent to the town, and then the town
Divvy it up.
divvies the payments. It was not as complicated as Franklin Bevier, but it was a fixed payment, I think, and then the town would take it in, and maybe there were some calculations in later years.
So the interest on this is 20 what percent?
It goes up,
Think
I think it goes up 10%.
10%?
the
So
interest
why
rates
would
are
the-
high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, so what's,
Was it 10%? I don't remember now.
so if this property gets sold, this still tags with it, it's still, this is, the new owner comes into play again, this still falls as a lien?
So no, it does not accrue as a tax lien, which is something we can talk about. These accrue as contractual payments that don't run with the land. So that is one of the areas of exposure for tax and jurisdictions. There is a method, there is a structure that we can put in place that we don't use right now, and many IDAs do use it, and that's called a pilot mortgage. So we record a mortgage against the property to secure the pilot payments, and that is something at
So
our
who is the
disposal.
winner in this? Morgan?
Well, he's sold
I know,
two
I'm
sellers
just saying,
ago,
who's
yeah.
winning on this incentive benefit
Well,
right now?
Right now, there's a new owner. I believe I'm not familiar
he's
with the
not-
owner.
yeah.
He's on the hook for that payment amount.
But if he decides to get out from under this, we got another problem.
Well, but if we mortgage it, then you're.
Well, if we do in the future, not for this
Yeah.
one, but in the future, we'll
So
have a
we
mortgage.
couldn't do it to this one?
We couldn't. We can commence an action, for breach of contract, failure to pay. We can do that, and the taxing jurisdictions can direct us to do that.
And then
But he's on a payment plan, I think.
And he's
here-
honoring the payment plan?
Yes.
Well, he's
Yeah.
made one
Yeah.
payment, he made one payment.
He made one payment.
He's made one payment,
Well,
so,
but I think.
But that's with the new ownership.
Yeah, I think
Right.
as long as he's made his first payment, if he doesn't make payments, then
Yeah.
then I think you need to take
And
action.
for whatever reason, this went through sale, like, we all know we bought property. You have to pay the property taxes when you purchase your property. I don't know why.
Yeah, the buyer's got, to your point, Troy, and this is just my 2 cents, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
If I have a property that has a pilot on it, right? And that's what I tell you all the time, when we give a pilot away to something in an area that's a valuable area, you're just increasing the value of that piece for that developer. So whoever sold it got the benefit of that pilot, both of them probably, but this guy's responsible, and as long as he's making payments, we'll be fine.
but if he sells it,
This guy sells it too?
Yeah, what is the size of the payments, Robin?
The first payment was $76,000.
Okay,
Is that
and
what it
then,
says?
so then just clear the difference
So,
between the.
we still have a leasehold interest.
Versus the
So we do
301.
show up in the chain of
And
title.
is it one more?
So if he tries to sell
final
it,
payment?
there's gonna be an issue
Or is
on
it in
title.
more?
Yeah, they're gonna have to clear it up. I mean, just like they
I'm
did
not
with
sure
him.
what
We're
they
not
worked out.
clearing
I'll make
our,
payments.
we're not clearing our leasehold until it's paid.
Right.
So the 301,000 is a reflection after the $76,000 payment. Then
Does that
that's
all
the
make sense?
live balance.
No,
right?
no, that was what I had to date. I just got the email saying they made their first payment after I did this.
So it's 200 and,
Yeah,
Sorry.
to,
And are they monthly payments that are being?
I don't know what they worked out.
so it's down already to 200 and
Yeah.
change, okay.
It's down to 230, whatever it is now, yeah.
but we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, we're not, and the town is keeping an eye as well.
Okay. Lesson learned.
So the next, project, we are recommending action at this time, due to non-payment, and other issues, shall I say?
So I got a call a couple weeks ago. As you know, we've been talking to the city about what to do with WBS Capital. They have not made pilot payments at all, really.
Or
since-
really done what they said they were
Or
gonna do.
done what they were going to, said they were going to do with the facility. So we wanted to talk to the city, make sure they were comfortable with us terminating. It was used as a vaccination site and also to train police dogs, I understand. So the city was being accommodating to them as they had been accommodating to the city. However, with the payments as delinquent as they are significant, as you can see. In addition, the Rochester Police Department is currently investigating the use of the building. There was an article a couple weeks ago, but it didn't disclose what was going on.
This is the
It-
Kodak Hawkeye?
Yes. So because it's an ongoing investigation, we'll wait until an executive session in which we can discuss it or. But we recommend termination at this point, based on non-payment and
It never-
not a
It
permissible
never even
use.
came close to what they
No.
were intending to do at the beginning on this.
Mhm.
I was a part of this one.
Yeah. So not only is the use not consistent with what we approved, it's also not consistent with law, so
Right.
we need to.
Yeah, we gotta get
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
from this as soon as possible.
So the city knows that we're going to terminate, and so the recommendation out of this committee would be termination, and then the board can approve that on the 26th, and we'll terminate the pilot.
Why has it gone 4 years?
COVID, I think, was a factor
Yeah.
for some of
Then
that
you'll-
period.
Yeah. And during that time, they used it as a vaccination site, and then let the police dogs train there, which is interesting.
But I think the city had a lot more to do than the county on that one, wasn't
The
this a
city was
city push?
very strongly behind this
Yeah,
project under the
yeah.
prior city administration.
Right, right, we were kind of following the lead.
We were.
Right.
Okay, so we need a motion from this committee, right, to terminate the filing agreement with WBS Capital Inc.
Motion.
Is there a motion?
I'll second. Motion from Troy, second from Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, now we move on to dog compliance. And, got a bunch of them on this list. And I think what we're recommending is we'll review each project individually and then, make an individual motion for each project to recommend that the full board grant, the waiver for 2022. And I think, just a heads up, if we decide that we're not comfortable, recommending that a waiver be granted, and we recommend then a follow-up meeting, and we could certainly bring in the, project representative to come, to discuss the waiver in person with us, so, if we want more information. So that's what we were thinking about doing, so, Robin, you wanna walk us through each one of these?
Sure, we put it in a spreadsheet format, kinda summarizing some history and then briefly summarizing, so what they put on their form back to us. So we have copies of these, if anybody would like to see that as well. Because we didn't have room to put everything on here, we kinda took the top statements that we felt. So starting with the first one, project 11030 at the top of the list, as you, I guess, I don't know how you guys want me to do this. Is there, like, this is received past waivers, currently operational in business right now with 8 FTEs.
So, and the jobs required you 10, so they're getting close.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
So Robin, the way I read this, the jobs are required, it's 10 and they have none, correct?
As
Yeah.
of 12/31/22.
Yeah,
It's been going on for a couple of years.
They,
hasn't,
well, they had, in the middle of all this, they did have a tenant
right.
with
For-
jobs that that didn't stay for whatever, I don't know why they
Go
didn't
for
stay.
2 months, maybe, or?
I don't know how long that place was
open.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Wasn't very long, and
And so the 8 that they have don't go towards the 10?
They do today, but we're talking about, a waiver for 2022.
So they're trending now in
Yeah.
23 in the right direction, but as of 12/31/22, which is our monitoring period, they had 0 jobs.
And there was no restaurant there at that point.
During 22.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't
one
remember.
opened, one opened, it was
It's a
Mexican, I
Mexican
believe, right?
restaurant.
And it was
Yeah.
Mexican, right? And then it
shut
closed,
down.
yeah.
Now it's like a catering business.
So because they're making progress, we should probably,
Right.
Give them another year.
let them continue, making that progress and ultimately meet, the number of jobs required is 10.
is there a mechanism to put in place, like if we notice this shuts down, and it, just because there's 8 today, and say January 1, 2023, we notice there's nothing, is there something that we could go back to just kind of hold them to some kind of?
So we'll survey them again in January of 24, and that'll come back to us in the beginning of February. So we'll know where they are in 6 months.
Okay.
Because we do survey on an annual basis. In the interim, we wouldn't know. So,
Right.
so just so let me explain what our recourse is when there's a job shortfall, because that might dictate your decision. So, when there's a job shortfall, we don't terminate. That's not the remedy available under the pilot agreement. And it's actually in one of our policies. So if we wanted to ever make a change to what we do on jobs, it would be a UTEP change, or Uniform Tax Exempt Policy change. What the policy says is that in the year that they don't have the jobs, that's defined as the disqualifying year, the payment schedule reverts back to what's called a 485B exemption schedule. That's an as-of-right exemption schedule for certain types of projects available under New York State tax law. It's a less generous abatement for the most part, and it's only available to certain types of projects. So even though this project wouldn't qualify for a 485B, that's the schedule we revert back to for whatever reason. Prior staff picked that as the recourse. So what we would do is in the disqualifying year, we would look at 485B, what was the exemption they would have got, and we would have asked them to pay the difference between 485B and the exemption they received. So for the sake of the discussion, I did the math on this one. I didn't do the math on any others, because I know we were talking about this one. So that would mean for 2022, they would owe $267 to the county, not much, and $996 to the city, so a total penalty of $1,264.
Which I think is more than fair, because in my experience, Mr. Malone hasn't played to the full what this IDA is about, our mission statement. He has been a not so fair player and manipulating some of our policies. That's what has me concerned. If we don't let him know for $1,200 that we're watching, we're conscientious of him going forward with more benefits, that we're watching. I think that for $1,200 for a builder of this level, it's maybe gonna let people kinda know that we're paying attention. I think that's more than fair. My concern is when that Mexican restaurant did get in there, everybody was excited about it. Everybody, okay, here we go, and then poof, now we have 8 today. I just don't want us to be manipulated. So for $1,200, come on, I mean, that's, I think, more than fair. What was the pilot worth for 3 years? I mean, way more than.
Oh, the
we're
prior
talking
years
hundreds,
waivers?
right?
So it would have been, I mean, rough math, in 21, the abatement would have been 40, it would have been 40% abated, or 60% taxable, said another way. Under 485B, it would have been a 5% difference. So we would have been 5% over from this year. So we would have abated at 40%. Under 485B, the abatement would have been 25%. So that difference would have been due. And then if you go back to 2020, we would have abated at 50%. 485B would have abated at 30%.
So the benefit still outweighs tremendously percentage-wise to a $1,200.
Right.
We're watching.
And so, to your point, Troy, he would become aware of that penalty in this year. We'd survey again in 23. We'd hope that he's getting there, and then we'll meet again. You know, hopefully not a year from now. Hopefully sooner.
That expires in 2030.
The abatement will be
That's a
done. 23 will be 80%. 24 will be 90%. 25 will be at 100%.
So 25 is the.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, personally.
Any other discussion on that? All right, let's move on to your point properties.
This is a daycare center, and just having a hard time finding staff.
A shortfall of 10 positions. That has to be a tough business to be in these days. So how many waivers have they had in the past? Just one in 21?
Correct.
But not in 22, or is that what we're talking about, 22, I guess?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, any further discussion on that, or questions?
No,
Right, Torelli Associates?
A small manufacturing business has had significant trouble finding eligible workers, and she writes a very what's the word I'm looking for? Thorough, but I want to say passionate letter. Very passionate letter on what she's going through in her business. They did purchase another small business that did help her numbers bump up this year.
What are they manufacturing?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask me that,
Sorry.
and I don't. I didn't,
Oh, wait,
hold on,
I
I
can-
wrote it down.
I can talk about it. This is Pure Pont, no.
No.
Pontarella.
It's,
PKG equipment. I don't know what PKG equipment does though. Wet and dry process equipment. That doesn't help either. I don't even know what that is.
that's what it
They're on
says,
Paul Road.
specializing wet and dry process equipment in design, fabrication, and installation.
Podmer, electroplating systems, citric acid, passivation systems. Looks like it's B2B
Like
manufacturing.
machining?
Yeah, machining,
Mm.
which is definitely an issue with the workforce right now. You hear a lot about that. They do have a bunch of jobs posted on their careers page. They're looking for welders and metal fabricators, plastic fabricators.
So they've had 4 previous waivers going back to 2018, with a shortfall of 14. So in 30, the shortfall was, or excuse me, in 2022, the shortfall was 14, and 21, it was, considerable, 21 versus 44, and 20 was, there was no movement there at all, to 21, as compared to the jobs required. So, but it sounds like they're passionate, they're still trying to stay and make this a business, and still trying to grow the headcount. So we want to do another waiver, I guess is the question. There's been progress.
Correct.
I also think they applied at their peak employment level
That's a
of
good
40.
point.
So, I think this is one of these instances that they applied when they were at full capacity, and
And I think when you look at this, you say, okay, they were at 21, now they're at 30, so at least they're going in the right direction. It's been a long time, but at least they're going in the right direction.
Right.
When I see somebody going nowhere or backwards, then I think there should be some kind of consequence, but.
Yeah.
I can reach out to them to see if they can table at the RTMA Rock With Your Hands event. Maybe they can showcase some of the career opportunities to the young adults. There's lots of programs out there.
Okay, any other comments on that, or shall we move on to Shortino Properties?
Another small manufacturing company just having a hard time finding workers. Hard to compete with other manufacturing and stay competitive. Having a hard time.
Our line of business.
Superior
Superior
Technology.
Technologies.
Yep, and they are a metal turning and milling manufacturer.
Okay. So they've added 3 since the prior year, but they're still 18 short of the 73. And they've had 3 prior waivers.
Again, looks like they're going in the right direction. It was 50 through 52, 55.
It's
And
hard to
actively
get
pursuing
people at
workers.
this level. It's just impossible. It's like they just don't exist or they don't wanna work.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
And I heard a figure recently that there's a 3.5% unemployment rate, which is quite low.
Mhm.
So the labor pool isn't even there to fill those jobs.
You know what's interesting? I'll tell you guys, when we've placed ads, we were having problems, and then earlier in the year, let's say it was a job that we would have somebody at, maybe we were paying at $17 an hour. And we would get resumes you wouldn't hire, right? Or none at all. So we raised it, I said, look, just raise it 25% and see what happens. So we filled every job, like, very quickly, just upping the pay. So that $17 guy an hour can't keep his head above water at 17. So we raised that job to, I think, like 21, and we filled it pretty quick.
Also, I think you can make like 17 an hour working at fast food.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people in reference to that, and they're like, with town positions, with jobs that we have through the town, and they say the same thing to me. Why would I do this and have to deal with all the garbage I have to deal with when I can go to McDonald's and stand at the window and pass out food for $17 an hour? Why would I do it? And get a free lunch?
Yeah.
That's why they upped the pay at Monroe
Yeah.
Community Hospital, because people were just running across the street to work at Costco. Why
Right.
be a certified
Yeah.
nurse assistant at
Right.
MCH
Right.
making
Right.
16 an hour, you know?
And it isn't even, and to me, it becomes a math problem, right? If somebody just can't keep their head above water financially, then they're not gonna, they
Right.
might as well do something else.
Right.
So, yeah.
So Robin, in these letters, are these tool and die businesses explaining that some of their job and schedules have been pushed out and the work's there, they just don't have people to do the work? Do they anticipate eventually hitting their numbers because the work is going to be there? Or is it where we're gonna see that, the jobs are gonna start getting less and less because they can't meet their schedule with labor, non-available labor?
These two didn't really address that, and that could be because our questions aren't.
I
In
only
that
say
way?
this because I'm seeing in the construction world delays, because of things not coming out of the ground. There's delays in getting the equipment, the material. I'm just wondering if the tool and die is also seeing their customers pushing things out. Because I would be more comfortable hearing, yeah, our goal is still gonna be 73, it's still gonna be 44. We have the work on the books, but we're just being delayed. I could do more if I had more, I guess, to your
Yeah.
point, because you could pay as much as you want if you don't have anybody there, or you don't have the
Yeah,
work. I
right.
guess I'm more concerned about, is the work there?
I don't see in either of these, I'm saying the work isn't there and therefore we're holding off. They're saying
They're
we are
actively
trying-
looking.
In fact, this one
Yeah,
for
they're actively
Shortino,
looking with the
they're
old-
adding
with
signing
the old-
bonuses,
Yeah,
right? They say
maybe
that.
they've turned the corner.
Referral
Joe, and
fee.
realized that
Yeah.
17's
And
not
then the
the
next
number.
one too.
Well, and eventually, Troy, you have to, right?
Right.
Because if not, you're not gonna just fill the spot,
Signing
you know?
bonuses.
Right.
So,
Well, that's where I'm going. How aggressive are we willing to pay more people?
These two indicate that they're
Yeah. Right.
providing signing bonuses, referral bonuses to their existing employees. So I think they're taking tactics like Joe described to get people in.
Mhm.
And
Well,
then-
that
This
would-
one states potential candidates have used this as a negotiations at current employer.
Yes,
Right.
which is very common.
A couple of them
We
said that.
don't ever do a reset on the jobs required, right?
We only have once on
Right.
the building that's on the corner of Plymouth and whatever it is, Maine. Because the use changed. It was supposed to be commercial and it ended up being all housing, so we reduced the jobs there, but no, we don't do that very often.
No, not that I recall, so,
And we wait for people to ask us to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
right. Okay.
I guess that would be a question I'd like to hear answered from the tool and die world, really, is, can you show that there's that work out there? Or is it just, we're using this as a, we're trying like heck to find minimum wage, but, that mentality's gotta change.
I have a question for somebody. So in the column past waivers, does that mean that they ask for a waiver, they didn't hit their number in a given year?
Yeah.
And each of those years is
Granted.
listed?
That's correct.
yes.
They were
that's
granted
right.
waivers for
Yeah.
those years.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, should we move on
Yep.
to the marketplace? There's a shortfall of, what, 3 jobs here?
Mm-hmm.
Labor shortages, retail industry still recovering from COVID. They've been making progress.
And they,
Dropped a little bit in 2022,
they exceeded them one year.
but they're still pretty close to the 3.
Close and hopeful, given the new development out there with the orthopedic center opening early next year and that new
Yeah.
design store that just recently opened doors. They're hoping that'll increase foot traffic.
And it was one year where they exceeded the jobs, so, yeah, that's, I'm good with that.
So then, Legacy Tower, Clinton Court LLC.
Yeah.
That's a very big shortfall. They lost some tenants during COVID. One new lease has been signed and they're continuing to market the space. That's a pretty good size shortfall.
I understand it's really hard right now for the real estate owners in the downtown area. A lot of, with work from home and public safety perceptions, lease holders are, not re-signing or they're reducing their footprints. So that could be at play here with the former Bausch and Lomb building.
So they haven't had a waiver from us
No.
before?
Well, they exceeded in 2021,
No?
and I think in 2020, we looked at it as fresh, right? At 698,
Yeah.
but now 300. I
Yeah.
mean, what would be the number on that one?
I gotta do the math on that one.
Yeah,
I have not, but I will.
yeah, I mean.
We can hold on that one, I can.
By the sounds of it, even if we did, the numbers that we're talking about are really de minimis. They're not, they're not,
Yeah.
back-breaking.
It might be, oh wait, I do have this pilot. We can keep going, but I can take a look, 'cause I think this pilot had a little different of a,
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
oh boy.
It's true.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
What are you oboeing?
Who's the project owner on this one?
This is
one of these math
equations.
I believe it's
how you calculate the payment.
Buckingham?
Yeah, it's Buckingham.
Yeah, it's Buckingham.
I can do the math.
Yeah, it's Buckingham, Bob Morgan, yep.
After Galena, I think Buckingham is the third largest property owner downtown. The developer Ken Glazer showed up when COMIDA, when the board approved, the downtown ambassador
Sure.
program. All of those developers are sort of coalescing around wanting to bring downtown back. There's hope.
Is
The
this,
Xerox?
Is this a,
This is the
primarily
old
a
Bausch and Lomb
Galena
building.
project?
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry,
thought
and
was
is
the-
it primarily a what?
Legacy
A
Tower.
Galena project?
No.
Buckingham.
No, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I thought we said Xerox earlier.
Yeah, Buckingham. We're
Yes,
checking, but this is
okay.
the building where all the law firms are, not all of them.
Yes,
but-
it's the former Bausch and Lomb
So you
headquarters building.
have,
Okay.
you've got a lot of professional businesses in there that have probably been laying people off.
Right.
And they're looking to just relocate to the suburbs, unfortunately, or not occupy as much space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's how
so-
many years left on that?
They told us somebody had a huge layoff.
It's a 2014 project,
So
closed,
it's
it didn't, that's an 18, oh, that's
closed, we
an
closed
amendment.
an after-tax status date in
It's an
March.
amendment,
Yeah, it says they lost 4 tenants.
So this came with a City of Rochester support letter. August 1st of 14, which would have commenced the abatement in 15.
Is it 10 years?
That's a huge shortfall, I don't see
It's
how
not a
they
10-year.
Oh, it's a 20-year pilot.
Oh, okay.
get caught up with that,
Well,
at least not in the near term. Would we like to have them in to talk to them
what-
about their plans?
I'm just concerned, Donna, what you said, that there's, might be going in the negative direction with people moving to the suburbs. Should we get in front of this? Or have them at least to come and tell us
Yeah.
the plan?
I think this one is probably one where it's a good idea to have them come in and tell us what's going on. Granted, they have not received a waiver. They have not received a waiver in the past, but
So 20-year
okay, we can-
pilot, 2015 start, flag
Yeah.
drops, we're talking 2035?
yeah, probably 25.
We should hear the plan.
The vacancy rate is pretty gaping at this point in the downtown central business district.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
growing.
It's horrendous.
So it's a moment of crisis, and I know that the county executive has, developers have wanted to meet with them to talk through it. There's some sense of optimism with everything going on at Maine and Clinton, and of course the ambassador program and the potential for a business improvement district, but all of those possibilities are just hanging in the air, and there's a crisis right now in this
Well,
moment.
It would just be nice to hear that there's a proactive plan and not just sitting and waiting plan, and just keep from getting abated
Which explains why they were 70%.
incentive without showing effort. would like to hear.
It's definitely
A little
it's an
urgency.
important piece of real
Yeah.
estate.
Oh,
You
Well,
know,
it's a
it's an
beautiful
iconic
building,
piece of
yeah,
real
it's not
estate.
yeah,
going
it's
We want
very
it to-
important.
right.
Very, and it is, it really is the nicest building
Sure.
downtown. It just, like, if I was gonna run office space downtown, that's the first place I would.
It's the newest.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it was built, what, 95?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would lean towards
I just
giving
wanna hear
it,
the
give
plan.
it to them, and if you want them to come in and at
Yeah,
least,
just
let them
make
know
sure
that,
that, you know,
what's the plan, how's marketing going? That's
Okay.
all.
yeah.
We can,
Do
we
you
can
want
have
it
them
in
come in,
writing, or-
or,
yeah, we
yeah,
can
if
ask
it,
them
if you
to-
know exactly what you wanna know, we can have, save your time and just have them put it in writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Was that the primary tenant, Nixon?
They are,
No,
the
Woods.
Woods,
Lacey
Oh,
Katz and
Woods, okay.
Carter.
No.
Underberg and Kessler,
Yeah, Underberg's there.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
primarily professional offices. We'll also find out how many people are, we'll ask them some follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just ask how many feet are vacant? How many feet's the whole building? So what percentage is vacant? And is there interest? What's the marketing plan? You know,
Yeah.
what's their gut feel how it's going, right?
Okay. We will do that.
Okay, shall we move on? I'm for sure that
Yeah.
we're not gonna meet our deadline, I guess, so we're good at that. So let's, we're gonna ask some questions, perhaps bring them in to enlighten us more on that. So the next one is Fortech North America Inc. It's a shortfall of 5%.
Moving in the right direction.
Highly
Right.
skilled individuals required to fill numerous open positions. We've given 3 past waivers. You know, they're close enough.
I agree.
And they are making good strides, so I would suggest we give them the waiver.
I would agree with that.
I think, Dan, you could move on with the next 4 as pretty consistent with our thought process, and we can bounce down to PGH. I'm just out of time.
Yeah, that's okay.
Everybody else is
Yeah,
consistent with what our thought
Yeah.
process is.
I think that's a good idea.
106 positions.
So
Is everyone comfortable with that?
So PGH Kirstein is an interesting story. The pilot was granted to, PGH Kirstein is the landlord, and the pilot was granted on the premise that D4 was located in that building. D4 is an e-discovery business.
Yeah.
E-discovery over the last 5 years has changed dramatically. It's a tool lawyers use. My firm had an e-discovery business, and the market evaporated. I can't provide you the ration why, but it did. New discovery mechanisms to do it. So that's the problem there, is that the city was very supportive of this pilot to retain the presence of D4 in the city, and it was a huge number of jobs. It was a retention project. So the shortfall you're seeing is due to the evaporation of a market, really, for D4 and the loss of that tenant. We have talked to the city about it. It was a city-initiated project, and we have follow-up conversations, we check in, but there's really been no decision, and we feel strongly we should wait for direction on the city for that one, and we told them as much based on our meeting with this committee last year. So we remain in a holding pattern on
So
that.
the building's vacant?
There is
No.
one tenant?
Two,
Oh, yeah.
two small businesses have taken over some of the commercial space. We're actively marketing the remaining available commercial space with hopes of bringing additional jobs to the project site.
I think the reality is they're never going to have 100 jobs.
Who's the landlord there?
Andrew Crossan, his father's name is escaping me, but
D4 is no more. I'm just looking at old news articles about them, okay.
correct. So, what I think the next discussion with the city should be is resetting the job numbers on this one and making it an attainable number, if that's what the city is interested in doing.
I mean, they're not gonna get there, so
Yeah, I don't,
where do we go from here is the
Right.
question.
and we can, like we said, we've been deferring to the city on this one, and I think, not speaking for anyone else, that we should continue to defer to the city and maybe have a different discussion of, okay, this is where we are. Let's put this in a place where PGH Kirsting can be successful, given, you know, the disappearance of D4 at the fault of no one.
They're looking for a huge number change,
It would be huge.
right, based on the last couple years.
Yeah, they currently have 4.
What's the address?
242 Andrew Street.
It's pretty
Okay,
expensive,
so
pretty
we'll talk to
expensive
the
to
city
maintain,
and, determine whether we
pretty
want to
expensive to
set
maintain paying
the numbers.
water and gas and
They do.
electric and not have a tenant.
Yeah.
And then you got heat in the winter, sure.
Another grow room. I-
How'd you guess? I didn't even say it.
It's just like, it's so bad.
Okay, so we move on.
Yes.
Morgan Charlotte Street, Fisher Associates, 8 shortfall prior waiver in 2021. They're growing.
In 2022, we hired 16 employees. Unfortunately, we lost some for various reasons. In 2023, we've hired 17 employees so far.
Yeah, so they're going in the right direction, so that's,
Progress,
Ooh, a few of these are interns from local universities. That's great, that's nice.
that's good. Okay, Erie Station, 30 LLC.
This is vacant at the time, but this, View 6 is going into this space. So it's just during it's construction right now.
We did a project with Vuzix, right?
Mhm.
Is that, okay.
What was that, Anna?
Vuzix,
But-
the tenant to go into this space, they manufacture and design smart glasses.
Right, but
Smart what? Oh, smart glasses?
Right.
Yeah.
what's the struggle
It can be
from
used
2020 to
in
2021, now 2022? This is 3 years.
They
What's that?
keep, so the
Sorry.
original pilot, the tenant was
that's how you did that.
Yes.
Roland Jinkson, the
Yeah.
railroad
The railroad.
company.
They-
They left,
And it's just taken this long.
and then who did, I thought somebody came in the interim. No?
I don't think so.
I can't, this is a.
Alstom was there? Alstom?
Were they?
No,
they- Whereabouts?
No, Alston was back on the old Eastman Kodak Research property.
Which is Erie Station, isn't it not?
No, it's
Where's
East
Erie
River
Station?
Road.
What's the-
Erie Station is
Oh,
30
right.
Becker Road.
30 Becker Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
We see a lot of shifting of tenants in this office park.
Okay.
We have a hard time keeping track of it, but I will say the applicants, the owners, do a great job of getting the space filled relatively quickly and communicating with us about it. It's Konar,
Konar, right.
and they do a great job.
So we were,
Owner,
Yes.
we granted the waiver in 2020 and 2021 with this COVID. They're just not able to get up and going and moving with construction. And now they are, do we have an idea of when they're going to get going? Music?
It says.
This month.
Yeah, like 9/1 was the
When they're gonna
date
start?
when they were gonna be done, so
Okay.
they should be moving in soon.
right. All right, P&L Limited LLC, shortfall of 6.
P&L Linden?
It's a insurance company.
Right,
Um,
it's,
CAFL.
CAFL, insurance company.
Castle, C-A-S-T-L-E.
CAFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
CAFL.
Kalinowski.
I'm sorry, K-A,
F-L.
Then Frank, L is in
If you
lion.
only knew what that stood for, you'd
Oh.
be shocked.
Dare I ask, I'm on their website.
They did state they ended the year fully staffed. 6 positions currently open right now for 2023.
so we should give them an opportunity to try to get back up, I guess. All right, Pacheco Company, Inc. Significant shortfall, 3 prior waivers. Companies are not ordering money at the level they did pre-pandemic.
Okay, so this, Troy, is what you're talking about. On Pacheco, where their customers aren't ordering, the work isn't there.
But still looking for employees.
Yes.
They currently have open positions
They did
in,
make a good step between 21, and then 22. So they're sort of in the right direction, moving in the right direction, but it's a big shortfall for 52%.
Yeah, that's a big
we can ask for an update.
Or it's 39% in shortfall with 52 jobs. Okay,
They losing
Sense.
clientele because of their product or because of,
So I believe it's Armored Car,
Loomis.
Loomis, yeah.
okay.
okay, so we'll ask them for an update. And the next one is Seneca Building Partners LLC, Windstream. Employees are working remotely but are employed out of this office.
Yeah, so there's 2 pilots on this building. How do you wanna say
Windstream
this?
and Gannett.
I'm just trying to figure out how we wanna do this one. So there's 2 pilots.
Yep. One for Windstream.
Yep, one for Gannett.
One for Gannett, Democrat and Chronicle.
The Windstream, this was the first time they had been short, and, I think if we had dug into it a little bit deeper, we would have seen that most of their employees are virtual, but they did follow up and say that those virtual employees, their home base is at this building, so if they were called back into work,
Yeah.
they would physically be there.
I think that's a situation where those people that are employed, they're paying taxes, right?
They're
They're
paying
employed,
New York State
Yes.
taxes,
so they have
yep.
jobs,
Mhm.
so.
And they're paying local property
Right,
taxes hopefully,
exactly,
or rent.
yeah, so I don't have an issue with that.
Right.
You know, just because they're not in that building, because I think you're gonna sit down
Yeah.
to see a lot of that hybrid,
Right,
right?
exactly.
You're gonna start to see
Mhm.
more and more of that, so.
Do we have those numbers? Or-
Seneca Partners.
On the people who are working remotely.
Yeah.
I did ask them, hold on, let me see what they said.
That's the project where somebody almost killed like 7 people.
No, that's the
The
Gannett,
Gannett.
old Gannett building.
Right,
The
but this was
original.
the electrical
So
supply.
this
in that
is
building.
Gannett DNC headquarters.
Mhm.
The
It's owned by
Gannett
Galena.
building where there was an explosion is
So
the
Seneca
one
Building Partners Galena.
That was
This is
feeding
Galena.
by,
the project.
Right over here.
right over here by Civic.
It's like
Civic-
right next to parcel 5, right, yeah.
No,
No,
it's right here.
it's right over here by
Right here by
No,
the
yeah, you're talking
parking
about original Gannett.
Rob,
Right.
The Gannett building that's
Where-
being rehabbed by Taylor's
Yes,
Builders.
yes.
different.
Yes.
Broad Street.
I think as far as Windstream goes, let's ask them how many
I did.
employees do you have total? And how many are remote?
What did I ask them? I said,
The
how
Democrat
many of the
Chronicle is
remote
a whole other
employees,
story.
Yeah, that's a whole different one. I'm
how many would
confused.
you
It's tough
Yeah,
when
what's the
you're
total
dealing
number of
with the-
employees there?
You got all the.
And
COVID.
how many are remote?
We have over 300 employees that are virtual that would be assigned to the Seneca building as their physical office.
Okay.
then I'm good with that.
That's for Windstream,
Mhm.
right?
And Gannett, they're just having problems filling it?
Looking at.
And just to clarify, Seneca Building Partners is Galena, right?
Yes.
And
So
yours
that
is-
handles Windstream. They have 300 remote workers that if they were assigned, they would hit their
Mhm.
Yeah,
job
so
numbers
we're good with
well
that.
and away.
Well, wait. So there is existing workers,
Mhm.
required workers. They have 300.
Mm-hmm.
What was the existing before the required 443?
Oh, at application? Like when
Yeah.
they applied?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just because there's 300, what was the number that was existing? And then we required another 143.
This is what the pilot reads. The company shall cause 143 FTEs to be based at the facility within 1 year. So this was a retention project.
Retention.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did better.
They
Yeah.
needed to have 143 in this. Right. And if you look at 2020 and 2021,
Right.
they did very well.
And if you
Well
add-
exceeded their job
They would be at
numbers.
350.
But they had
Just
to have
weren't
been
on site.
remote then, during the pandemic.
They could have been, and the person who filled out the survey counted them.
Okay,
And I think the person that filled out the survey this year didn't count them.
so
like
maybe
Robin
that's,
said, we caught this earlier.
Right.
we
It wouldn't
caught-
even be on.
I wouldn't put it
You
this
wouldn't
on.
even put it on.
But we
Yeah.
did
Makes
the
sense.
work.
That's fine.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And Gannett is just, that's just the newspapers in that building?
Yes.
They're the
And
only tenant in that
no,
building?
No.
they're seeking subleases. One is the
Okay.
police accountability board is there with, I believe, 18 jobs. And they're, hold on, there's a big long letter.
They did have a Salvatore's Pizza for a hot minute there, I think, right?
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that just to the police accountability
Mhm.
board?
Salvatore's Pizza opened
Oh.
and closed, yeah.
My father-in-law used to work here, and we used to go visit him. He was the VP there, and the
Oh,
building was
really?
gorgeous when he was there. I mean, he was up like on the top floor, and you press the button, those doors would open, and it was so beautiful. It's just a shame.
It's a whole
Right.
different era,
Yeah.
right?
We used to have a lot of parties there. Used to go up the top of the building and watch the fireworks.
Thanks for the invite.
Hmm?
It was years ago. I was in my 20s.
Would it be- that would've
So
been
this
better.
one-
It was a long time ago.
This one was retention. They
You're right,
moved
it
into
was
the
good.
building and they
Lots
were
of
to have
alcohol, free flowing
193
alcohol.
jobs. And then they needed to bring in 18 part-time. That's weird that we had
You
put a
could not
part-time.
have fun.
So let's call that
Could not
9
get fun.
full-time and then an additional 4
Right.
full-time. So they needed 13 full-time in addition to their 193, which brings you to the 206 number.
Tough industry, too.
And really, I don't wanna say since its inception, but nearly, they've been losing jobs at Democrat.
They've what?
Been losing jobs, you know.
Sure.
I would not wanna own a newspaper right
No.
now.
No.
No? Oh, nice.
Maybe they could turn it into toilet paper.
It's sad. It's sad because
is.
Gannett was founded in Rochester, you
Yeah.
know? We used to have a morning paper and an evening paper.
We did.
Yeah.
Tenure.
Yeah.
Hmm?
At a
Now you're
tenure.
dating
It
yourself.
was the Democrat, and Chronicle and the Times Union.
And the Times
Union
Union
too.
Style Week and
Yeah.
the DNC
Because it was
on the
15.
weekend. That's right.
You're dating yourself, too.
That's
So,
okay.
that's another one.
It's a different
I-
time.
Oh,
So
what do we wanna do on this one? Is this,
The
Galena,
term
you
of the
said?
pilot, it started.
Yes, Galena is the owner of
I would say
the building.
Up the Gannett Building.
2031.
Do we want them?
Well,
to
the-
come in?
The
Both
new,
of them.
where the Democrat and Chronicle is
Well,
currently based.
expires, the pilot goes out to 2031. And if the trend's going this way, what's the plan?
Yeah.
Right.
I think we
Yep.
do the same thing we did before, ask them just to give you something in writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Just for the
sent us
sake
a
of-
very long letter, but they're trying to sublease. You know, they did. They sublet, as Robin said, that brought in 18 FTEs, which is good. So if we could know what they're doing in subleasing efforts, because they're never going to get to the jobs on their own.
No.
Right.
But why don't we find out what they're doing on subleasing? and
Okay.
what they think is an achievable number.
Right.
And being it's still an operational print factory, getting from that, away from that, going forward is gonna be a challenge with just hazardous, right? There's more moving on this than the newspaper. If they close the newspaper, we're gonna have a problem on our
Yeah.
hands because of abating the property for
Mhm.
something different, which is gonna be of enormous
Yeah.
cost.
Okay.
It's gonna be a big cost.
Alright, and the last one is the Spruce Risk Purchasing Group. Student housing.
Yeah, this was recently purchased by the University of Rochester, and they do have plans for the building, or to do things that, the existing use is not feasible anymore, it was supposed to be a bank. And they're looking at other uses that would either benefit the locals in the area or the university for food services.
So it's housing, it was supposed to have a restaurant, boathouse, and credit union.
So they've got three, it's been 3 years we've done it already, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when this was assumed, whatever,
21.
21, we got on the phone to the city and U of R and talked through this very issue. U of R is, now into the project for a couple years, and like Robin said, I think they are going to try to bring services into the building for the residents and the public, but the original conception of a credit union and a boathouse and a restaurant, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. So they gotta come up with a different plan what they're gonna do.
Well, actually, they've said actively planning for the development of the remaining land on the site by constructing parking, other site improvements to better support a restaurant on the first floor, ATM, Amazon locker.
Whereabouts on the College Town campus is it?
It's not on College Town.
It's on the river,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
on 970 Genesee Street, 1500
okay.
South
Yeah,
Plymouth.
So it's in 1904?
Yeah, it's in the back.
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
And if they get that, they're working on that river revitalization plan and trying to have it go from rush to, and really open it up, and if all of that would ever come together, a restaurant would be fabulous there, but just a
So,
matter of
so it was
getting
assumed
together.
in 21 and nothing's happened since then, is that correct?
University of Rochester, yes, purchased it in 21. They're planning, but haven't done anything just yet.
So Robin, maybe we ask them, what's the timeline, what are they thinking as far as timing?
Actually, it's all here,
Oh, we got it?
yeah. Please list ongoing efforts to maintain and create jobs. It's like 5 bullets. I can get more. Hold on.
So we still have questions, or should we go ahead and grant this waiver?
I would grant it.
It's all here if anyone else
I
wants to see.
think it's,
Yeah.
U of R has
Yeah, I
it,
would
and they
grant
come
it.
through with their projects,
our
it's just a
packet.
matter of figuring
Yeah,
out
it's
exactly
in
what
the
they're
original.
gonna do.
Yeah.
If the revitalization of the river gets going and the way they want it, this is gonna be really great, they'll be able to
Yeah,
really
I would grant
utilize
it.
Okay. All right, so we're at the end of the list, and now we need to have a motion on which waivers we want to grant and which ones we don't. And Robin, have you been keeping track of that tally?
Kind of.
So what I would do is we'll do one motion to grant waivers for the ones that are not highlighted.
But this one, they just wanted more information. They were still gonna grant it though, right? That's where I'm confused on.
Okay, so let me just summarize so that we get the motion right. For the restaurant in the city on East Ave, we are going for recapture in the amount of $1,200.
Do you wanna bring them in before
Do you wanna
first?
give them an opportunity to just pay it, or bring them in and if they wanna argue about $1,200?
He's just gonna pay it. get in the limelight, I'm sure.
Yeah. Legacy Tower, we were gonna get more information, what is their plan, how many people, what's the vacancy rate?
Right.
Do we wanna grant a waiver, or do you wanna wait to get that information?
I think you wait for the information, then you grant it.
PGH Kirstein, we're going to continue to talk to the city. I think that means grant the waiver, and then the city, and we'll figure out what we're doing in upcoming years. And then Seneca Building Partners, again, what's the plan with subleasing, and what's an achievable number of FTEs? So I think the only three that we're not granting waivers on pending additional information are Legacy Tower and Seneca Building Partners. I think that's it.
And then 384, you're gonna grant it, but there's a fee involved, right?
You're not granting it.
We're not.
You're not gonna grant it then.
That's,
Right.
well, you aren't gonna grant it.
What were we gonna do with the 384 East Avenue and the first one?
We are not granting a waiver. We'll send a subsequent letter that this is the amount due for the disqualifying year.
So so you don't grant it, they pay the amount, and that is what it
And
is.
then we go on our way.
Okay.
The benefit still is outweighing the.
100%, not even close.
Not even close.
Yep,
Just
okay.
Just a drop.
All right, so from the top, Robin, you wanna walk us through what the motion then will be?
So- And if you want, I can read off what the motion would be, if that's easier, because I've got the piece of paper here.
Sure, if you,
I'm
if you
gonna-
get a revised list.
So it would be a motion to grant a waiver to the following projects as identified by project code. Bear with me. 1222, 1306, 1345, 1368, 1579, 1605, 1631, 1655, 1667, 1704, 176, 1710, 1719, 1742, 1828, and 2150.
Motion.
Well, that ties with my notes.
Second.
So, anybody else have any questions on that?
Your second?
All right.
Yes, Rhett
motion-
seconded.
No,
Nope.
Oh,
Brett's not on the
I'm
committee.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was
Is there a
just,
second?
I was just saying.
Oh, okay, you
Okay,
needed a second,
there you go,
right.
we got a second.
Okay. Any additional questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good work. Very good work by the committee and by staff. That's a good thorough review.
Only 11 minutes over. So,
at that.
Pretty good. Somewhere along the way,
yep,
we picked
Troy bought us
It's
some
only like-
time in there.
300.
Any other items to, any other business for the committee?
So basically, you're gonna go to East Ave and give him an opportunity. If not, we're gonna address this at the meeting. If he denies to pay.
We'll be back
You'll have
if he
to.
argues with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion.
Second.
Troy, seconded by, Joe. Any other business questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
All right. Oh, yes, of course,
Appreciate all
thank
the
you.
effort.